Dragon Powder may arguably be the most valuable resource in Conan, on a PvP server that is. With that said, it's actually quite easy to farm. I am sure many of you are aware of this and have your own methods, but in this video I want to help you maximize your Dragon Powder production. Maybe you will find some of this information useful despite your skill or lack of skill with the game. Depending on you or your clanmates, you can easily cook thousands of Dragon Powder in a 24-hour period. But personally, I like to do around 500 a day. It's easy to do and maintain that output. All methods used in this video will be legit and contain no exploitable ways to gather the resources needed. You're going to want to make sure you have your sorcery to at least the 7th level. That will enable you to use Mass Cull and summon your corpse. If you don't have it, it just kind of defeats the purpose of this video. This is about being efficient and getting the most out of your time. I will also provide a link to the wiki. It will describe the resources you will need to get to tier 7 of your sorcery. So if you don't know, there will be a link in the description to help you out. I figured I would go over every resource needed to crank out Dragon Powder. Personally, I don't think I need to explain where to get demon blood, but I figured I would show where I get it, and I'd also explain why. It's an old school way, but I still love it because it provides me the opportunity to get hollow bone arrows, hollow bone bow, act of violence, legendary. If you don't have the recipe for acid arrows, it'll provide you with that as well. You get plenty of demon blood from them. You get black blood to help craft the acid arrows, something I love. So I love farming this place because there's lots of little things that I gather along the way rather than just one simple item. You can go out and farm certain things to just get that one item, but I like this area because I like stacking up, especially hollow bone arrows. And of course, since they took the vendors away, you can get black blood tools in here as well. As for tools, star metal tools work just fine. I do prefer to make the jump to obsidian. Obsidian is on par with black blood, and you can easily craft that at your base. It might be a little tricky for you to go get the obsidian bars, but it's really not as difficult as it might seem. So I would try to invest in that, especially with breaking down items around the map. You can also get plenty of obsidian to craft the tools, but you're still going to need to go up there to learn the recipe. So if you just want to use star metal tools, that'll do the job, but I would aim for at least getting obsidian tools. This is a pretty easy one to discuss. The best place, of course, is Shattered Springs. There is no other location on Exiled Lands that is on par with Shattered Springs. And since this video is aiming towards efficiency, this is what you're going to want to farm. If this place is being constantly farmed, try to get on at a time when maybe there's low pop. Try to get a few runs in every day just so you can maximize your storage of brimstone. One thing I like to do, just teleport there naked. If it's gone, just pull bracelet, go on and do something else. If it is there, come back with some tools, farm it. If you have other clanmates, get them farming it on rotation so you always get the most out of Shattered Springs and other people don't. Yes, there are other locations on the map that brimstone can be found, but like I said, this video is about maximizing the profitability of your Dragon Powder. So we want to be able to get as much income as we can, and Shattered Springs is just the best place for that. So this is where sorcery comes into play. Two of my favorite items are the Black Heart weapons. You can learn this recipe in War Makers. There is also a chance for them to drop as well. You can also use the Abysmal Armor, which is what I'm wearing currently in this video, and it's really cheap to craft, so you know, it's up to you how you want to corrupt yourself. There's many ways to do it, but those are two of my favorite ways to do it. Now I will show you the location that I like to farm for crystal. There are multiple caves on the map that do have crystal. This is just my favorite one. Not a lot of people use it. And that was the reason we needed sorcery. is because I'm just going to pull bracelet after I am done here and go back home. My recommendation is if you just want to farm one location for crystal, make sure you just know how much you're getting. I think we're going to average about 40,000 with this pull right here. If you're playing on a live server and the pop is high, you may disconnect from an outgoing reliable up buffer overflow or whatever. Just relog, you'll be fine. And if you want to run back to base, of course you can, but the reason of this video is to, you know, maximize your efficiency. So I usually pull bracelet, summon my corpse, and if you forget, I mean, it's not really an exploit, but I guess it is. I don't know how Funcom would classify it. Of course, when you do call your body, you can sit on a chair, so when you summon your corpse, you don't lose any blood. But blood's not that hard to farm, it's just tedious. But if you wanted to save a little bit of blood, of course you can sit down in a chair. I would just do this every so often. I usually do 2 to 3 runs of crystal in a day, and that will usually last me for a few days. If you want to do more or have clan mates also running it on rotation, you can get even more stockpiled up. You are going to be using 7 stacks of crystal every time you craft about 250 dragon powder, so it's always good to make sure your crystal supply is in good standing. So tar is not a complicated resource to acquire, but it is important. You do need it in the process of crafting your steel fire and of course in crafting bombs. Always go for the ones that have a 1-to-1 ratio, so try to avoid regular hide and then fur. Those are going to take 3 per 1 tar, so you're always going to want to get that 1-to-1 ratio. Thankfully, most of the hides and pelts and stuff that you will farm on Exiled Lands will give you a 1-to-1 ratio. But I love South Jungle because there's a path I like to take that has quite a few salamanders. They give reptile hide, and they're also going to give me volatile glands, which I can then use to make acid arrows as well. And it's just nice to stockpile extra resources that I'm going to need later on. You might get some ichor out of it, not a lot, but I always put that ichor aside for cooking properties later on. Now, the other place I like to run, of course, is Jabal Sag. We would not be doing any multiple killing our bodies to try to farm as much hide as possible. I like to take the hyena path that leads into the bears and then go from there. Sometimes I will pull bracelet. I like to try to farm hide for 10 to 15 minutes. So all these clips that you are seeing was between a 10 to 15 minute process. So then you can see the amount of tar that I will have at the end of all this farming. It's pretty straightforward. You don't have to farm the frost giants. I like farming it with a thrall for the XP. Same with the dungeon as well. I usually just like to have a thrall with me just to level it up, even though I'm usually the one killing the things. If you're on official, you know, it takes a little bit longer to level things up. If you're on privates, maybe it's boosted a bit. But that's just what I like to do. And especially if I'm at the frost giants, a thrall can help me take the ag off of me a little bit so they're not targeting me as much. I would also like to add, if you are going to farm the Jabal Sag dungeon to completion, carry at least 3 skeleton keys on you so you can get the legendaries at the end of it. So all those hide runs combined is going to net you 44,615 tar, which is the same amount of steel fire you will have, and that is well over 800 DP right there. Steel fire obviously is just an easy 1-to-1 ratio. You're going to be using improved fireball cauldrons. You're going to be using the precision to craft your dragon powder. But I did want to touch on the lone fisherman. The lone fisherman is the fastest crafter for your cauldrons. It just is. It's a purge thrall, and you can get it in the city. I will show on the map where you can get it. I'm sure many of you know about this. I even compare it to a tier 4 alchemist It is faster than the Witch Doctor as well. I compared the Witch Doctor to the T4 Alchemist and it was the same. So always go with the Lone Fisherman. If you're feeling industrious, try to get as many Lone Fishermen as you can so you can crank out Steelfire even faster. But at least get one that you can put on your Precision Fireball Cauldron and just for the main purpose of crafting your DP. But I would suggest, and I do advise, get as many as you can because they are helpful and they're nice to have. And, you know, you need extra cooks for cooking and stuff like that, not just your, you know, cooking up your boom booms. So just keep that in mind. I just wanted to throw that in there for the Steelfire section. So here's the combination of materials you're going to want to put in your Precision Fireball Cauldron. What that's going to come out to is 1,500 Brimstone, 7,000 Crystal, 300 Demon Blood, and 13,500 Steelfire. When all is said and done, you're going to be left with 270 Dragonpowder. You do this a couple times a day, you can see how it will stack up. If you've got clanmates and you can get this on rotation, you can literally crank out thousands of Dragonpowder legitly without having to use exploits. And it feels good farming your own materials. Make sure you're using improved Fireball Cauldron to craft your Steelfire, not your Dragonpowder. Always use the precision. You want to get as much cost reduction as you can in crafting. That's it for the video. I hope maybe you picked up some tips here, found some useful information, maybe something you didn't know, or maybe you knew everything here. But if you like this kind of video and want to see me do more of them, let me know. And just maybe that could be a possibility. I'm not the biggest on tutorials, but I thought I would share some of this because these are still methods that I use to this day. Crank out Dragonpowder. But I will see you guys in the next one.